got your lipstick on. You look cute. You always
Okay,
look cute.
we're rolling whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. So I have with me, I'm Ashlye Keaton. I'm a co-founder of the Ella Project with my partner, Jean Maneri. And I'm here with Big Queen, Rita Dollis, and Big Chief, Bo Dollis Jr.
Yes.
And we are going to be talking about their roles within the Mardi Gras Indian community and the context of which in which they're practicing now and how the Mardi Gras Indian tradition and culture has shaped what how they engage in their rituals now and where they are presently and going back to some of the influences in their practice, including the late Bo Dollis Sr. and the way he helped shape them and shaped the Indian culture in general. So this interview is not about me at all. It is about the two of them, and I would like to pass the mic over to whoever would like to first start to begin talking about the role of Bo Dollis Sr. in the Mardi Gras Indian community, how he helped shape the Mardi Gras Indian music genre, and how that ultimately, going over to Bo Jr., helped shape your career and your sound and the way you're getting the message and the performance and the art of the Mardi Gras Indian music out to the community today?
Well,
And that's a lot. I realize it's a huge question, but one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you all in is because your family is probably the most, I'm not going to say most important, but I could say that without people throwing stuff at me, even other
Hopefully.
Indians, because your family in your various roles has truly touched on all aspects of the Mardi Gras Indian culture. And Bo Sr. and Bo Jr., along with Queen Rita, have really brought the Indian culture to the international audience in ways that no one else ever has. And it's been going on since was it 1969 or 1971 when Honda Wanda was first released?
69.
69.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start there. And Bo Jr., I'm going to let you take the mic.
Well, back in the days, Indians was more scared and a secretive type of feel for Indians to come out on the streets and things like that. And they were more violent. You know, a lot of parents, moms was crying because they didn't know their child was coming home, their husbands was coming home, or stuff like that. So a lot of guys got together, as far as like my dad, and it wasn't just him. It was a whole lot of guys got together. Big Chief Jake, and the suits started getting more elaborate. So
Right.
they started more fighting with their suits than with guns and machetes and hatchets and stuff. My dad and Jake was real good friends. Jake used to come uptown, my dad used to go downtown. And that was like the rivalry everybody wanted to see. So my dad went to Jake Indian practice, and a guy named Quint Davis was at the Indian practice. My dad going there just doing his normal thing, singing and having fun with Jake, and that's where he was founded at. So they started doing shows, so he told my dad, well, look, you need to do a record. But at this time...
Quint
Davis.
began booking your father.
Right. And at this time, Quint had just started Jazz Fest at Tulane, because Quint was still going to college at the time. And they had a Jazz Fest at Tulane, which Jazz Fest started it. A lot of people didn't know Jazz Fest started at Tulane College.
I didn't know that.
Right. And my dad got up there with all his Indians. They just singing. Willie T got up there with his band, which was Willie T and the Gators, and started backing them. So once they first heard this, they was like, wait, we got to put this combination together because nobody was doing it. We had the normal Mardi Gras music, Fast Domino, Al Carnival Time and stuff like that, but nobody really had Mardi Gras Indian music, and my dad was the first person to put that on wax.
So this was the first time that the Mardi Gras Indian music was performed to, if you will, a mainstream audience.
For anybody, because like I said, Mardi Gras Indians was really scared. People were scared of Mardi Gras Indians back in the days.
Right.
They wasn't coming from out of town like they're doing now to see Indians. So after that, it was just, once he put that on wax, it brought it all over the world. And that took him all over the world. as far as going to different countries and people seeing Mardi Gras Indians. So that brought more people to the city to come see Indians.
And to go back a little bit at Jake practice when Bo Dollis was having practice that night, was there for Jake practice. Quinn Davis was there. He was at the practice and he heard Bo singing, and that's when they got to really meet each other, was at that practice.
And was this the Wild Magnolias at this point, at this practice? Or were the Wild Magnolias later formed?
No, the Wild Magnolias had been formed by then. They was nice formed and rolling by then.
Right.
You
So
know, the
Jake
Wild
was
Magnolias group got formed like in the 40s.
He was already chief.
You know,
by
he was
then.
already
Right.
chief then. By the time my dad made 12, by the time he made 16, I'm sorry, he had became chief. And this was way later on after that. He went to Jake Indian practice. And at this time, Indians used to go to everybody practice.
Right.
And he was just going for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he going in there sing. He wasn't really looking for nobody to record him or be seen. And if anybody knew my dad, that's just the type of person he was. He'll sit backstage all day, but going to Indian practice, going to have fun. And Quinn was like, well, who's that voice? Who is that? And it was on from then.
Well, I've once heard, I forget who the writer was, I think it was Rolling Stone, describe your father's voice as one of the 5 most distinctive voices in
Right.
recorded music history, along with Robert Plant and a few others who are
And he was a real,
internationally renowned recording
for
artists.
voice-wise, he back in them days, you go on the corner and hear people sing and stuff like that. And a lot of people didn't know him and Professor Longhair was real good friends.
How did that manifest itself in recordings? Was Fess on any of the recordings?
Unfortunately,
for
no,
Wild
he
Magnolias?
was never on none of his albums. But back at the Dewdrop Inn and all these other little smaller clubs, Professor Longhair used to always perform in, and
Right.
that's how they met. Now, Professor Longhair taught my dad how to sing without getting hoarse and without getting tired.
What was that recommendation?
I think he's trying to tell him just sing more for nothing abdominal and be comfortable and stuff like that. Cause my dad used to just scream,
Right.
because he has a big mouth. But he taught him how to really keep calm. Cause if you got 3 gigs in one day, you can't start losing your voice after the first one. And they became real good friends with that.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. I think it's interesting that Professor Longhair taught your dad how to stay
'Cause
tempered.
in New Orleans, every corner you turned, you had a club. Well, they used to call it joints back then that they could really, the Neville Brothers started in them, and Fast Domino started in them. All these little small Dixie Cups. They all started in these little small clubs, and they started from there.
How did the music and those joints, those neighborhood joints, impact or help shape the way the Indian culture came together in those neighborhoods? Were they linked in all the neighborhoods, or was it just in Central City where you're talking about? Or, is this something that's across the board?
Well, as far as Indians, them joints didn't really have Indians in the collaboration with the joints. It was more than the R&B group, the bebop groups and stuff like that. We really didn't have too much influence in the joints. We mostly was on the street.
Right.
When you called Indians, you called them on the street. My dad, when he started performing, he wasn't really in joints. He did festivals, he did Tipitinas, Howlin' Wolf, these type of clubs. He wasn't really on the joints level,
Right.
because they really didn't know nothing about Indians then.
Right. So he was, first of all, an exception to the rule.
Right.
Because
Right.
most Indians aren't on stage at this
Exactly.
point. And then, he's catapulted not just, from the neighborhood, but into the major international audience and locally at the major stages, right?
Right.
And so that began with your father, and there were a couple of other Mardi Gras Indian tribes since that have formed as performance groups, including the Wild Chapatulas that was Chief Landry.
A lot of people didn't know Jolly.
Chief Jolly, rather.
Jolly came from my dad. Jolly was my dad's second chief at the time.
I'd heard that.
Right. Yeah. So my dad gangs got too big, he told him to branch off and start his own gang, and he went and helped him. Helped him start some few little Indians, and it started from there.
Great. Now, how has that, I want to get into your role as Big Chief, and I want to get into Queen Rita's roles too, but since we're talking about music, how has all of this history and all of this context and growing up around your father helped shape what you're doing today? And what was that like, him passing the torch to you?
It's some big shoes.
Yeah.
When I first started doing it, it was kind of disturbing because everybody was looking as, I'm going to be my dad. They want me to do the same things he was doing and the same songs. But I kind of had to build my own shoes and build it, walk my own way. But even growing up, everybody, a lot of people didn't know my real name. They just know me by Bosun.
Right.
I couldn't even get in trouble. I couldn't go nowhere. Like, if I went to the Riverwalk, they had this music playing. So I was like, oh, wait, is my dad here? Hold on, this is kind of spooky. I just came in here, then all of a sudden his music's playing.
Even at Walmart.
Yeah, right. You go to Walmart, you got to hear his music. But it took me a long way at a young age. My first time on a plane, I went to Japan. And that was my first time ever on a plane.
Wow, that's quite a trip.
Yes, and that's 25 hours. And, I'm going to a Holy Ghost school at the time. I tell my teacher, well, look, I'm not going to be here next week. Next week. She's like, why you not going to be here for the whole week? I'm going to Japan. The look I had to get, like, yeah, right. You're about to go to Japan for real. Yeah. What you go? So I had to do papers. I had to bring souvenirs back. But it was an experience I'll never forget at a young age.
How old were you?
I had to be about 19 years
Wow.
old. Yeah. And going out there was a whole different experience because they can't even speak English.
Right.
But they sung every single song word for word. And I'm like, how y'all speaking? Y'all can sing it, but y'all can't speak it. And I started looking at my dad kind of different, because me growing up, okay, that's just dad. That dad, you know what I'm saying? But even me traveling with him and seeing how people react to him, and, I've seen a lady pass out because she's seen him. And I'm like, I had to use one of my mom phrases, like, who you think you is, Elvis Presley? And he's always bust out laughing because the lady, this was after he was really sick. And I really brought him to the festival so he could go and relax and have fun and stuff like that. So I brought him, and the lady looked at him, and she collapsed. And I'm like, I said, Daddy, come on, move, let the lady pass. Because the security had to pick the lady up and brought her to the back. I said, Daddy, come on, move, push over a little bit so they could walk past. He was like, all right. So I helped him move over. And I kept seeing, like, they kept shifting. Like, every time I moved him, they was coming over. And she was like, I just want to touch your hand. Maybe I saw my face, I was like, I had to look at her, look at him, like, okay.
Well, he's a big star.
Right. So after that, I really started seeing him as a different light. But it's as me growing up and as me now, I take everything full force,
I know you do. I follow you, as you know, beyond being family.
Just like when we going on stage, I grew up with a lot of his friends. So I take a lot of this stuff. Marva Wright, she's a more crowd person. She had the crowd doing whatever she wanted them to do. Doopsy, don't keep still on stage, So, and my dad, I don't care if it's 4 people out in the audience, I'm going to perform like it's a million of them. And so I take a little bit, I play with the crowd a lot, I don't keep still on stage, and I perform at 100 all the time.
I haven't, really pieced that together. Part of the reason, I'm sure, is because we're so close, we're all so close, but you really did have so many icons.
I did. Growing up.
To learn
Yes.
from. And I think about it, Marva, your father, obviously,
Right.
Dr. John,
Yeah.
Alan Tucson.
Then I still had on a back burner,
Really
I
did.
still had my grandfather. My grandfather was Harold Dejon. So I learned how to play the saxophone.
Right.
So I had a whole lot of musical influence growing up and what I am right now.
So you go back to the Olympia Brass Band.
Yes, the original ones.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forget.
That helped to raise him.
Since you said raise him, you didn't just raise Bo Jr. You raised a whole tribe and a whole community, and you continue to do that.
Yeah.
What was your role, when Bo Jr. was growing up, and with your late husband, and how has that shaped your role as a big queen in your tribe and as an iconic leader, not just within your tribe, but in the Council of Queens and within the Mardi Gras Indian community generally, because you are very much looked at as a fierce leader and warrior, and as a savvy businesswoman, and as a mother, as a very good mother and wife. How did you fulfill and continue to fulfill all those roles?
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. When I met Bo, we'll go back even further than that. Before I met Bo, I wasn't into Indians. I used to do the parades. I would go on Canal Street with my friends and catch the parades. But after I met him and I learned the spiritual side of it, I began to love it. Then when we had Bo Jr., Bo wasn't pushing to get him into the culture. It was his friends, other Indians, and our followers that used to say, "Mass Bo Jr., let's mass Bo Jr." And I was fighting it. I was like, no. I don't want him to mass. I don't want him to mass.
And why? Why didn't you want him to mass?
Because of what I've used to hear about the culture when I was coming up, okay, which was the negative side of it. And then as I got to be more involved in it and help Bo to make his Indian suit, I learned a different side of it. And I learned how to relax a little bit with the culture. And then Bo Jr., we put some heavy and high goals for him, and he met everyone. I mean, it was dealing with school. You got to get on the honor roll. You got to keep your room clean. I mean, he met every goal that I gave him. He went on and beyond. So I was like, what I'm going to do? I got to let him mass now. So once he got on the street, I think he was about 8 years old. Then 3 years later, kind of speed up a little bit, I told Bo, I said, well, I want to mass for 1 year. Okay? I didn't make their suits. They made their own suit. I would just help. Big Bo and Bo Jr. to put it together. So he said, well, okay, Rita, you know, you can try it. You can do it for 1 year. Now it's been 25 years, okay? When I got out that first year, it was just so spiritual and so warm that I felt a different side of the culture, and I haven't stopped yet. I had to play a different role once I started masking with the Wild Magnolias, because when I got on the street, I didn't see that many queens.
Right.
It was very limited. And the queens that met me, they knew me. And I figured it was through Bo, you know. And it was like, oh, Big Queen Rita, Big Queen Rita. And they would hug me and everything, and I would play it off and would be like, hey. Then I would be like, who is that? I didn't know them. And it wasn't a good feeling, because I'm not fake. You know, right. I'm real. So when I approach somebody, I want to know who they are. I want to show real love, not fake love. And that's what I was doing. So in 2010, I went to Bo and I said, I think I want to do something for the queens. So he was like what? I said, I don't know. I keep feeling this in my spirit. It wakes me up at night. It's something I want to do to bring them together. And that's how the council was formed. And that was in 2010. So Bo was a type husband where whatever I wanted to do it. I could have said, I want to build a bridge. He'll be like, do it. You know, he was my backbone, you know, and he reminded me so much of my father, Harold Deshawn, because my dad was like that too. He always inspired me where you can do whatever you want to do. And that's the way I am right now. You know, whatever I set my mind up to do, it works. It happens. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I put my 100 in it. And that's the way I raised my son. That's how we raised him. So he's a big part of me and his dad and his grandfather because of what we instilled in him, the way we raised him. So when I brought the council together in 2010, I didn't think I was going to get it wasn't a challenge, the input back on it, the positive. I got positive and negative.
Why did you think it was going to be negative?
Because I thought they was going to fight me on it because I thought of it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Because of the competitive nature.
Yes.
And because you are probably the most famous big queen.
Right.
And
so they was
will
gonna
be.
fight me on it, and I'm not saying every queen, but when people don't think on something that maybe they should have, and another person have thought on it, it become negative, and that negative have a tendency to spread. But I got less of that and more of the positive. So I went with it and just tried it, had a meeting, invite some queens, and it have grown. We got about 20 plus in the council.
I was at one of your first retreats, and we were speaking about this earlier, and I remember, and I started tearing up earlier just now, because I listened to you talk about your role and how you have built this organization of big queens and helped to collaborate among a culture that is unified but also is very competitive and regionally, like neighborhood competitive, and also in a role as a big queen that is not traditionally the ultimate leadership role within a tribe, but is. And there's so many delicate balances there. And I watched you. I remember. I mean, I wasn't with you side by side the whole time.
Right.
But I remember when you went about this and when you came up with this. And I remember meeting with you upstairs and with Bo Senior at the beauty shop. And I know you. And like you said, when you want to do something, you do it. And at that first retreat, when you and Sabrina Montana, who is a downtown Indian big queen, got together and hugged and shed tears and held up this powerful sculpture together.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I will never forget, and I
Yeah.
still get chills.
Yeah, it was a
Thinking,
hand. Yeah.
Wow, these women are united.
Yeah.
And for me, I went, this is, now I know this is a big deal. I know
Yeah,
this is a big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's powerful, and to hear the queens talk now that's in the council, because I got queens from Baton Rouge, West Bank, downtown, everywhere, And one of my queens spoke, Queen Kelly, with Creole Alceola. She even came to me within a month ago and said, "Queen, you just don't know how this council have changed me." And it's about integrity and building your self-esteem and putting you on a whole nother level. And I spoke here on Saturday at the Mint, and I also shared with the audience that I really wish more queens would get in. You know what I'm saying? Some of the new queens that's just coming into the culture, I wish that's my goal, that's my hope, to pull them in so they can grow, okay? Because a lot of the new ones are not growing because they getting the wrong information.
Right. So what is the information that they should have that you are trying to
listen at not just the elders, not just the old queens or whatever, but queens that have been involved in this culture for years. Okay, like myself, I've been married for 25 years, and I'm not saying I know everything, because there's some things where I still have to go to Queen Liddell and talk to her, or Queen Rita. I used to go to Wild Chapatula's, Mercy D. You know what I'm saying? It's still things that you learn.
Right.
But there's a lot of brand new queens that maybe it's their first year, their second year. They should try to, even if they don't get in Queens of the Nation Indian Council, some kind of group of queens where they can sit down and talk to and learn the role and just grow from that. Because if you have a new chief that just got in, and I know my son been mayor since maybe like 30 years, because he was on the street before I was. But you got some new chiefs that's coming out within like last year. They don't know a lot of stuff to even share with their new queen. You see what I'm saying? So they both on the street brand new. And that's where sometimes it bring problems. Because if you don't know, you can't teach anyone else.
Right.
And you definitely not teaching your queen the way she should conduct herself on the street. So they coming on the street full force, and that's a problem. You see what I'm saying?
Do you think that that your council, that the Queen's Council, has helped raise the voice of and the awareness of the very important role that the big queen plays within the tribe?
Oh, definitely.
Because it's a very patriarchal society, right?
Definitely. And I've seen more queens have come into the culture. There's a lot of little girls that's in it. it just have grown. Because like I said, my first year, I didn't see that many queens. Bo didn't even have a queen.
Right. Well, I remember when I didn't see
Right.
many
And while I was
queens,
dating
and I haven't
him,
been here near as long.
I might have seen 2 queens in Wild Magnolia all those years.
Right.
And then they would come, they would go. He didn't date women to become queens, or whoever he was dating, he didn't make them his queen or whatever. He didn't roll like that. He didn't make her Indian suit. It was a purpose if you was his queen. That was your purpose. You was the big queen.
Right.
But I didn't see that many. Now they're all over the place. All over the place. And it's good because I can see the growth within them. Same thing as Wild Chapatula's Queen Tanya. She said she was afraid to get into the Queens of the Nation because she heard the negative side that the queens that was in the council was mean. She said that Saturday here. And I was like,
y'all can be mean.
Yeah, we can be. And then she said after she got in and met us, how much it helped her to grow. And she only been massing maybe like 4 years, but it helped her to grow. And she been in the council 2 years of those 4. So it's a good thing, and we give back to the community. It's a positive thing.
I think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, Bo Jr., I know you've been masking 30 years, but you're still young compared to a lot of the elders in the community. And I'm wondering, I know that you're a member of the Indian Council now, the Mardi Gras Indian Council, which unlike the Queen's Council, the Indian Council is comprised of chiefs. And so it's kind of like the counterpart to the Queens. And whereas Queen Rita helped establish this Queens organization, you're still kind of not new because your dad was part of the founding of the council, which I know there's nuances to that. But how do you look at the Queens organization? How do you help empower that message as a younger chief within a very old school, like old guard, patriarchal organization like the Indian Council? Without saying anything bad, I love the Indian Council. I love them. But again, I mean, you really do have the power as a young man who is a chief. And I know that you're not a young man, but again, you're not 70 or 80. So you are. How do you help bring these messages, into an old tradition where, frankly, some of the old guys just don't look at the queens the way they ought to?
Well,
Maybe.
when I teach my Indians,
say ought to. That's mine, and I'm not trying to voice my opinion. Sorry.
When I teach my Indians, we just stick with the old school ways, and that's with everything. What the queens do as far as they don't really step on nobody's feet. They help the homeless. They go feed the homeless, or the Christmas baskets they do every year for the elderly. I can name a whole bunch of stuff they do. The school supplies that's about to come back up again. And as far as me too, I do a lot of things within the community. It's just not me just trying to be on stage and go do this. Just like coming up at Tip of Teens, I have a Stop the Violence concert. Because it's every time you turn around, it's somebody getting killed.
Right.
I turned on the news this morning. Some guy went to a birthday party and stabbed a bunch of children. Not in New Orleans, but it was somewhere else. But it still affects us. And just with the Queens of the Nation, they don't take little small stuff and want to go and do this and go do that. They do it all the time. They take these little trips and be with each other. As at one time, the queens were doing more fighting than the men was. And so now you don't never hear about the queens fighting, because they all of them starting to be friends. They go hang out with each other. You turn on Facebook, they might be partying somewhere with each other. This never happened, because at one time they never would go call each other, or, and they do that. They have queens. They have queens that call mom, be like, "Well, queen, how you like this patch, or how you like this?" They're not supposed to do that, but they do it, And they all different gangs.
Well, and that's something about, there's something to say about that, and about how building that community, which is something that, your father did through his music and through, his tribal leadership, that your mother has done through your various roles, including the Queen's Council and that you're doing now. And when you talk about the message that you're trying to spread about stopping the violence, I think about how the Mardi Gras Indians have such a powerful role as leaders in the community, and how everything that you all are saying about coming together as a community to just build harmony, to build friendship, to become empowered through good, strong values, and to, practice the goodness that you do, just by virtue of being who you are.
Right.
And how you have a platform that extends that even further when you come out on Mardi Gras and Super Sunday and St. Joseph's Night, and are able to express that even further through your art and through your music. You really are positioned probably, I would say that you are more strongly positioned in this community to make a difference as organizations than anyone.
That's why we understand that. That's why, as a family, we always had to watch what we do, what we say, because we know we are being watched. We know that. You know what I'm saying? We know people is taking heed of what we do. They may not say it. They may not compliment you. They may not say good job, pat you on the back, which we're not even looking for that. But we know that the Dollises are being watched and noticed. So that's why I always instilled in my son, watch what you do. Watch the people that you hang with. You know what I'm saying? Watch where you go. Because it's always someone. I don't care where we go. It could be out of town, in town, cross town. Somebody knows us. And it's so funny because a lot of times we play it off and we'll look at each other like, who was that? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to ask the person, what's your name? Because they come to you like you really supposed to know them.
Well, you're
regardless.
Royalty. And it's what's
And
funny.
it's like, me and girl be like, who was that? Who was that? Who was that? I'm
Well,
like,
everyone's talking
no.
right now about Prince Harry and Princess Meghan, and we're all obsessed with the English royals, but you all are royalty in New Orleans
and we don't
and
really look
outside
at it
of
like
New
that. And
Orleans.
what Lil Bull mentioned earlier is that I'm not gonna say he took his dad for granted, but that was daddy, okay. And Bo and my husband and Lil Bull would have always been so close. I didn't even have to be in the house. It didn't matter. He loved me as a mother, but they were so close. So he looked at him as daddy, not as Big Chief. And I looked at him as husband, not Big Chief. So I know within our 35 years that I was with him, 35 years, I took him for granted a lot because I didn't know how important he was till he passed. And that was something I had to get over, even still trying to get over that, because I didn't look at him on that professional side as I did. Well, that's my husband. That's Bo Dollis.
But don't you think that helped you have a normal, some semblance of a normal family life? Because here you have a son who is wonderful. You obviously did a great job raising him with Bo Sr. You have a family that is bound together.
Right.
You all have been down some roads.
Oh yeah.
And you are just
pop right
thick
back
as can be. You do, and
and that probably made it normal. If we would have looked at him like, all that, and he traveled all over the world or whatever. We never talked about that, but it was happening. And my son was with him, and some trips I took with him, but it didn't impact us until after he passed. That's when the light bulb really went off. Was like, wow, what I'm saying. And even at his funeral, I was like, we walked out, was like, we couldn't even get out the door. We was like, where the casket? The casket was already in the hearse before they even got us out the door. That was just as many people. Then we seen the love. But you really don't pay attention to that when a person is still with you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we always have to, and even now that he's not here, we still watch ourselves and how we conduct ourselves. Yeah, we do have our own business, and we do other things in life besides Indian. Indian's not our life. You know, we have a beauty salon and we do other things, but we still watch what we do when we on the street and how we conduct ourselves, because we know people is looking, and we want to play a part.
And they are, and
Yeah.
they're watching, and that's good because
Right.
again, I mean, you're role models.
Right,
It's one of the
right.
reasons why you're here.
Yeah, yeah.
Just briefly, I know, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you don't want to talk about this that much, but what was it like? How did you all manage to? How did you manage to find it within you to continue this ritual and your roles in this culture after both senior passed? I know that you were very much involved before that and continue to be, but what was the impact of that on your continuing to be part of this culture? Did you ever think that you wouldn't be, or did it make it?
Well, I
make
think we
it even
both have an
stronger?
opinion on that. We both have different opinions on
And
that.
we'll end on this,
Yeah,
because I know
my
you
opinion is, once he passed, I was going to give it up. Okay, and we didn't. He died in January. Mardi Gras was in February. We was working on a suit, and after he passed, we was gonna pack it. We had a meeting with our tribe. Gerard had a meeting with, little boy had a meeting with the other Indians. And it was like, man, no, Bo wouldn't want y'all to do that. He would want y'all on the street. So I remember that year we came out. Then the following year, we did sit out because we needed not the next year. We wore black. Mm-hmm. And that was in his honor as a tribute to him. The whole gang wore black. The following year, he let the second chief take the gang and just me and him sit out. Well, what that was about is that we needed some grieving time. But yeah, I was going to give it up. But then, within my spirit and feeling him, that's not something he would have wanted. He would have wanted us to keep it going, to keep the legacy going. And that's what we're doing. So he may have a different outlook about it.
Nope. I think we kind of hold the basic on the same. Because I know I didn't want to do it no more after that. I was gonna give up the Indian thing plus the stage thing. I was gonna give it up all because that's something was on him.
Well, at one point you switched your style.
Yeah, I did.
Completely.
Even with the day that he passed, as an Indian tradition, they started doing Indian practices for the people that passed and stuff like that. And one of the guys who used to master me named Edward, he was like, Chief, you want to go ahead and do Indian practice? I was like, no, I didn't want to do nothing, But after I calmed down a little bit, I was like, you know what, go ahead. I gave him the guy's number, and he was like, man, look, come on. And that's one thing where we start at, the owner, he always have the doors open for us, whatever we have to do. So we wound up doing the Indian practice. The same guy, he's in the second line band. So they wind up starting from my house to the bar, to Sportsman Corner, and we had Indian practice.
And that was the
night
he died. Yeah.
And when I said you couldn't get on the corner or you couldn't get inside the ballroom, because I had to move the Indian practice outside. That's how crowded the ballroom was. I passed out for a minute because I don't think I didn't eat or something. Something happened to me. And they had a guy from across the river named Troy. He pulled me outside. He's like, let me come holler at you, come talk to me. And he's a big chief of a gang over there. And so I was like, all right. I'm kind of confused because, we know each other. We friends, but we not like that. And he was like, man, look, don't give it up because I know you. Like that, I was like, I don't know how you know that, but it's already in my head that, and it had a few people came to me. One of my partners, Twin, from downtown, and my cousin, all three of them came to me. It was like, look, I know you keep doing it, da-da-da-da. So after that year, that Mardi Gras was like so hard. Yeah, that Mardi Gras was like real hard.
And what happened was that particular Mardi Gras, when we got on Second and Dry, it was so many people, and people was like, they was like crying and stuff. And then it was like, it wasn't raining. It wasn't like it felt like it was gonna rain, but it was like the clouds just looked at so strange. It was like an overcast, like you could feel it, and people was coming to it was like we can really feel him, And then the guy Steve that owns Sportsman Corner, he had gotten one of these pop-ups. My daughter had gotten it, and we had it in Sportsman, and he set it outside, and people was like taking pictures by it and everything. That Mardi Gras was a Mardi Gras I would never forget. It was such an unbelievable feeling. So I think me and Lil Bo have the same feeling on that. We never talked about it until right now, that he was thinking about giving it up and I was thinking about giving it up, because we never mentioned it to each other. But it came to us that we got to keep this going. So I think that's why that year after we wore the black in his honor, and we say we would never tear down those suits, because they hang in our house right now, the black ones. We'll never tear those down because that was so sentimental to him that we got to keep it going. We got to keep it going in his honor, and he got to keep the music going, because that's what his dad was about too. Not just Mardi Gras Day, the music side of it too, and he was right there with him. I mean, they did road trips and traveled the world that I didn't even go, because I went before he got a certain age. Once he got a certain age, I stopped traveling with him. I would just let him go with the band. But there's places that Lil Bo would been with his dad that some kids probably would never get to go in their life. Some places he went with his dad that I never been. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he been to Aruba. I probably will never get to Aruba.
Well,
I mean, I went to Japan with him, but there's some places where then when I stayed home, I was like, I should have went. So that is good sides to it.
Right.
And it's memories that we would never forget. Not just because we got pictures hanging like a art museum in our house, but it's just good memories that we would never forget. Yeah.
That's great. So I have one last question.
Yeah.
I know you got to go. Going forward, you have beautiful children. You have beautiful grandchildren.
They look like their grandma.
When are you going to take them to Japan?
Oh, Lord.
What's the time frame? When are you going to start getting them involved?
My oldest one, she's a very she's Indian bound. She's stuck on it. So her master, she's coming back this year, and my youngest one, she's gonna master this year too. So they both gonna be out there together. And that's nothing I really force them to do. If that's something she wants to do, because I let her sit out one year. The year that my dad, the year after, the year he passed, she wanted a master in red. The year after he passed, I wore the black. And that, like my mom said, that was a tribute suit. And that suit took so much energy out of us, because my whole suit was like nothing but his faces. So even on my headpiece, I had my picture, his picture, and my mom's picture. My chest had all the 1970s Indians. Then my apron had all the 1980 pictures of his Indians. Then on back of my crown, I had his whole body with his patches, his face, everything.
When he turned around, you thought that was him standing there.
Right.
He was tripping people out.
Like it had the hands poked out and stuff like that. So that Indian suit, that took so much energy out of me. I had to take a break that following year, like my mom said. And it was a good thing. It wasn't really a suit that I had to meet nobody in. That's something I just had to get out of my system, And that suit that messed up my neck, because the body was so heavy, and I really wanted to wear it. And they had two guys help me make it. It was like, Chief, you can't do this like this. You ain't gonna be able to walk. And I still wore it. I still had to do it, but it's just something I had to get out my spirits. That's all.
Well, you had that transformation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Into
And
the big chief that you are.
That's what it came to be. And like my mom said, we sat out the following year, kind of recoup a little bit. Came back this year and came back full force.
Yeah, I gotta go every year. And on my black suit, he's on that one too. On my apron is myself and him off a portrait that we have in the house.
From your
and
first
that was my first year. So I put that on the apron. I beaded that on the apron, and on my collar it's me. It's him in the air, and I'm like reaching up. So that's the reason why we're not gonna tear those suits down. They're gonna stay up.
Please don't ever tear those suits down. Well, I know you all have to go.
Yeah.
Because you're going to the beauty shop, but I just want to say I'm so honored to be here with you all, and
And we
I
honored
love,
to be
I
here
love
with
you
you.
both very much, and
you.
We
you know,
love you too.
I
You like
think-
family, Ashley.
Well, yeah, I was at your wedding.
Everywhere.
You know, I've been with you a long time.
A long time.
And it's I'm just so glad that you live in this
Yeah.
community and that you're playing that role for everyone to see and to copy.
Yeah.
Because
And
we need role
and Big Bo
models.
loved you so much, Ashley.
Oh, that's sweet.
Everything, anything. Call my lawyer. Call my lawyer. He loves you. He loves you dearly. Yeah.
Well, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm glad his spirit is around us
Live
all at all
on.
times.
Yeah.
So
Live
thank you
on.
all.
Thank you.
Bo, and,
Thank you.
And thanks to the Jazz Museum.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
That was good.
good.
Y'all all right?
Get a little
Sorry,
emotional.
I
We
didn't
got
know.
a little happy. We got a little emotional.